So if you followed anything I've said before, I talk about tone, tune, colors, the idea of taking something, putting it into your head, making you believe it, then of course you act and react as if that is real. So then where does that idea come from? Where is the 9/11 tone? And what does the 9/11 tone look like? What does it sound like? So I went in to explore and to find that several years ago, and this is going to be just an encapsulation of what I discovered during that time. And then I will play you the tones at the end so that you can also see the destructive damage of a tone, and also the idea that tones change depending on shape. All right. So then you go back to the idea of words and the fact that gods is dogs, flipped and opposite. And you notice that in a lot of these hoax stories, dogs are always prevalent or present. Okay? So then I wanted to find out at what point the tune went out of tune, at what point the corruption happened. All right? So that is a display of that. Then looking at for the corner, the replaced cornerstone, okay, the fallen system, trying to figure out the use of these towers, which are absolutely for tone. I know a lot of people want to talk about energy, and everything's about running your toaster, right? It's well beyond that. These are tones. If you put out a tone across the population, a tone will then keep them in line. It will keep them in line. Okay, so we need to look at several different ways. I have what's called a sine wave there, but also I want to show you the sawtooth, and I want to show you that if I go into, let's say, a square pattern, that you will hear the difference. So then looking at to where these missing keys are. Where are these missing keys located? I've talked to you in the past about the two missing keys, or the two half notes creating the full note. All right. So where are those two half notes, and what are those two half notes? They're shown to you in depictions of keys or crossbones, a skull and crossbones. So that is your skull, that is your head, the receiver, the crossbones being the two replaced half notes, replacing or making the one. All right. The one to rule them all, Saturn, Satan, the idea of the fallen knowledge eating the fruit. All right. So I want to talk about that exact 9/11 note down to the T. I've identified it for you. Okay, I'm going to spend a little bit extra time on this slide just to bring your attention to the far left side. Notice I've placed the two towers, the I/O, the input-output, the two towers. The one on the right would be the fallen light or the moon, the one that's not working, the fake love, that idea. Remember, this is something you need to think about. All right? So then the 9/11 crossing over the 10, the I/O. All right? So then what do you have? What is that tone? The tone is the 9116 on the MIDI scale. So I'm looking at the 22nd. I'm looking at a frequency of 29.135 hertz. Do you see how then that will go ahead and reflect perfectly to your 4 or the double 2, the moon return, the 11 making your what? 22 making your what? The idea sparked in your head, the knowledge given to you through the fallen 9/11. Do you notice how the 9/11 goes into the 9/11 or into the 12, into the 3, making the 3 6s, or the 666 also making the 3, or Saturn or Satan. All right. It also leads you where? Into what? Into the 23, or death. Right? That's the abyss. That's what I'm talking about. So between that number, you have what? Here at the bottom, between the A and the B, you have an exact note I've identified at 34.32 milliseconds with a frequency of 29.135 hertz. So what does that sound like? And what can that do? Do you want to, just right at the desktop, we can have an experiment real quick. All right, so once again, just to show you that note that I'm looking at, if you look at the middle frequency hertz, you'll look at the first one is highlighted at 29.135. Adding that up on the point side of the right, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the 9 plus 2 is the 11. That's your 9/11.
New mystery surrounding One World Trade Center. For about a year, New Yorkers have reported hearing an eerie sound coming from the newly constructed building. They call it haunting, and it's got a lot of people talking. Rick Leventhal joins us now. So, Rick, you went down there. You did some investigative work. What did you learn?
Well, there's clearly a noise. It's not clear exactly where it's coming from. It can create a sound that some are calling eerie, haunting, even moaning. The whistling was first reported by the Tribeca citizen on the day after Thanksgiving. A man who lives a couple blocks from the almost completed One World Trade Tower wrote a local paper and said he first heard the sound during Hurricane Sandy last year and assumed it would be eliminated when the building's framework was finished and the windows installed. Well, then last week in the middle of the night, the neighbor says the tower began whistling again with a slightly different two-toned cry, calling it unmistakable and very chilling. So here it is, and you can judge for yourself.
So that now you see you're dealing with tones, and tones create power. They most certainly do. Tones, sound, can move things. And in the case of fake news, it's moving people, human beings, flesh and blood around from place to place. In what? In acceptance of what they told you, thus your body needs whatever that is. All right? Do you see what I'm saying? You're fulfilling, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So anyways, what are the tones? Let's look at some of the tones. What I wanted to do with this experiment was to show you starting at the 9/11 frequency of 29.135 and then timesing that by 9, going up and just looking at how it can disperse particles or anything that's like, think of a powder. Okay, so in this case it would be keef, or hashy keef, powdery hash. But you will see the movement. This is, like I said, the first time out. I did discover something, and it's going to take more looks, and and you'll find out. You'll see it right in here where you see the actual point that things happen, and then there's a fine tuning that you would go there. Think of that as being directed energy, directed beam, directed sound, directed light. This can be transcribed into light, into energy, into sound, even into sound that's so high above our hearing that we wouldn't hear it, or even below hearing to where you would just feel it. You would sense it on the one end, or you'd feel it on the other. You would hear it in the middle. Okay? So then with that said, here's the experiment. Please, again, turn down the volume if it gets too loud, and just turn it off. If you don't want to have to hear it, you can still see the movement I'm talking about. And just the idea, just get the general idea of destruction. Think about the walls of Jericho idea. Think about the idea if I want to make a man-made earthquake, for example, anything like that. This goes into all that. This goes into colors. It takes care of words and tones. Please, so anyways, enjoy. Okay, this will be that experiment. I'm going to close you into the test chamber now, all right? What I've put there is some, what's called hash, powdered hash. I'm going to bring you up to 100%. Checking speakers, 100%. Start volume 100. Just going to bring this up for 30 seconds. Going to bring it up to a number of 3 times the starting value of 29.135. All right, so that's that 911 code times 3, making this 9 and 6, or your 69. All right, just an idea, just to show you how through, and I will show you the sine wave through the triangle, through the square, and through the sawtooth. You'll see that these signs are familiar to you now that you know the older alphabets. That of course is being the Zion, the double 7. All right, here we go. There'll be some audio distortion coming soon as frequencies play off each other. against each other competing. Okay, did you notice that? Through just 3 times the power, and that 87.405 hertz is a very small amount of power. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do one last thing, if my speakers can handle it, and we're going to do the 87.405 into the 9th power. So I want to go ahead and bring this up by 6 more, so that's 524.43. Okay, I'm going to go as long as I can. And we're going to bring it right into the destruction code. Hold on. I think we found something. Hold on. Right there, man. Okay, let's put 293 stop. 293, 290 to 293. Go. Make them move. Man, my ears are hurting. All right, that's it for the experiment. Experiment's done. You can now see that you have definitely, you can identify a destruction code in there, and I'd say it's right there in this area. You know, I don't want to destroy anything, but that's that. All right, cheers. Okay, here's like a model of time, right? That is presented to you. It's always presented as an infinity, so this would be, think of it, you know, in 3D space. Okay, so I'm going to say that's 0 date, and we'll just say this is 2013 to make it easy, just for, you know, example. So what they're going to tell you is, you know, talking about time travel and whatnot, it's more about influence. So if they put, do you notice how every time they want you to weep and mourn, they'll give you, they'll always cut off the end, and they'll have you wear these stupid ribbons around, so that you mourn and weep and give this power to, let's say if it wants to move to this band, you know, it's all power, it's all arcing. So the arc is made between the 2 pillars, bends time, really is as much as you want. You know, you can go anywhere. Well, oh, my time machine just busted. Let's begin. Oh, okay, I can fix it. Alright, there you go. Roger. NASA, no problem. We got it fixed. Time machine is fixed. But anyways, before it busts and I get stuck in wherever I'm at, even no matter what, even you see how it's all curling up, it won't matter because it won't lose its shape. So anyway, somehow let's find out where we wound up. So that where that pinpoint is exactly, then would be between the pillars, and then that would be a point that they could jump off at, and then revert back to close the loop again. Hold on. And then it pulls back, zinc, and it closes the loop again. Do you see that? All right. Hope that helps. Okay, so moving into D, right? Or Dalet. It's a doll or a humble person. And by doll, it means, it goes back to the rag doll in a lot of these hoaxes, the red doll. That whole idea of the person being dragged to and fro from one place to another. So you have D, or the idea of four as well. You know, the door. If you take your two hands, you know, make your gun fingers, and if you invert and rotate, you'll create a door with three fingers hanging off. You know. 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, depending on which way you go. So looking at that, so you have a humble or a willingness, right? You have fire, earth, air, water, north, south, east, west, all of those having an idea or an influence, a color. You have the fact that the D's will denote a half note. A half note of a key. If you go back to my series, I'll leave it at the end of this, a video about the true tone. You always see the cross keys, and the idea of this guy and that. Well, there's an absolute fact to there's a missing key. It's a tone. It's you have a half a key. It's like the little heart pendant that you break in half. Somebody holds half and the other person holds half. The missing keys, the cross keys, the crossbones, death, the cancer, the 69. Do you see it right there in the center? So if you look at the idea or the character of the Dalet, it starts from the upper left, down, over, down, then with two distinct arms other than the first stroke. The one at the very center, at the crook, before it heads down, is called the ego. And if you put the ego, the entire door or Dalet, across the structure, and if you're familiar with Kabbalah or anything else, if you look at that, you'll see that what I've drawn in the center is exactly the same thing, with just the information to the idea of the truth. All right, the fact that you're dealing with a tone, you're dealing with a tune or a control device. Your mind's told something, you go that way. That's a fact. You don't do anything but what your mind tells you to do. You do know that. Okay, so you see, when you take, let's say, the crown position or the air position, the prince of the air waves, what do you take in? What goes into your head that makes you think something's real? How then do you react? Who do you witness to? I witness to Jesus Christ. Through his spirit alone I am given life. True life, that's living water that lets me see the truth through this lie. If you choose the other note, do you see how there's two nice little half notes laid across the 1 and the 10, splitting them into pyramids, creating the false idea, the false temple, the false crown? Right? All right. It's also the force, man. This is where worlds begin. This is where worlds end. This is where ideas start and ideas crumble under the weight of fact, right? You think, oh, I'm going to do this. You run around and you try and do it. And this place, north, south, east, west, jumping into 6, up and down, conspire against you and you fall down. Why is that? Because you can't do your own thing, right? But within your mind, you can have your entire own universe. You can believe 90% of the truth and then have 10% left over for your wonderland. Whether that be the solar system, believing in that, believing in aliens, believing in dinosaurs. Look up what words mean. A whale is not a dinosaur. It's a whale. All right? You've been corrupted. You got your note hanging, man. You're hanging on a thread. You're hanging on a cord. One that is a lie, not to be believed. Okay, sorry to run a little bit long on here. I'm going to... all these next ones, I turned this up just to a quarter speed, you know, from the average YouTube kind of, you know, speed, whatever people call. And I'm going to turn up the 5's going to even be higher. And then 6, 7, 8, and 9, forget about it. 7, 8, 9, that goes up into, you know, just amazing places. All right? Amazing things to see. So, hope to see you there. All right? Remember, you choose the door you go through. You choose the deception. You choose to contend against those who are just telling you, don't go in there. You know? So anyways, D, Dalit, door, 4, the half note, the 69 idea of crossing, becoming, Cancer, the 911, do you look right down the center, the 6911 code, do you see that? Put that on, put a bearing right in the center and spin that. Put that on your head. Roll it around and make it a nice cone. Put it on your head. It's a dunce cap. Trust in Jesus Christ alone to get you out of here. Smoke them if you got them. Hey guys, good afternoon, evening, morning. We're going to take another look at this. And this is, I set this up just to match what most people who play music or understand music. Please understand, I was kicked out of band in high school, literally told to leave or get an F because I was told that I couldn't hold a tune. Okay? So this was the tune that they want you to keep. And you can see I set it up, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, goes back around, right? Continues. Notice that the G also represents your spiral, because when you flip it and you put your, that's your 6 and your 9, do you see that? Because it's a 6 and 9, that's the 6 key here is missing. There's no black key there. There's no, that's one of the keys taken. So if you notice that they always have, let's say, crossbones or the cross keys like that, right? Those kind of look like cross toothbrushes, but those are cross keys. On the Vatican, those type things. It's always because it's representing this missing key and then the next missing key, which is the connection between the C's. You notice that between the C's, you're missing a connection, right? There's no connection there, or black key. All right. So back to this, where the false center's been made. This is 7 notes, which is not correct. 7 notes representing, let's say, 7 or an angel, in this case Lucifer, the devil. You're listening to a tune, okay? Because it's been jumpered here. Remember, I've gone over this. Look in the middle. Do you see how you have the polar opposites? And now you're listening to the static, because your tune, where's that? Your tune is out of tune. You've been jumpered, all right? You see? They took it out. That's the missing key. All right? There's 2 missing keys. That's why it's always cross keys. That's why that represents death. All right? So let me go ahead and I rebuilt, just so you can see, if I brought this around and brought it together, you'll see what happens. Okay? Whoa. Do you see the keys? Where am I? The devil puts his yoke on you, which is why that represents the plumb bob. And then on the opposite side, it's the noise. Do you see that? It's a circle. Whoa, where are we at? It's a circle. It's not, don't think in flat. Okay. So now I went ahead and changed the keyboard to what I think is correct, which is starting at A, B, C, D. Do you notice how the D cuts? E, F, G. And then when you flip that, notice that familiar sign? Hold on. Notice that familiar sign? When you put those two together, that and that, you get an enclosure. You get your plus, right? So that if I wanted to go ahead and bring these keys around, do you see how it makes a perfect setup? And then when I twist this together, it's actually it's a real type tone. It's not on this where it's static, right? So do you see yet that if you're playing with this, trying to make music in this world, you're singing the devil's tune. You got to use the correct keyboard, which is in perfect balance. All right. That's it. I don't know. If I don't get lynched or a firebomb for this one, we'll see you next time. All right. God bless. Okay. So beginning with what is the shunt, which is the 3, is if you look at a 3, it looks cut off. Well, that's because it's completed, and that's the shunt on the line. Okay, that's why you're out of tune. Okay, because it's been shunted, much like with the south and north talking about a magnetic pole. You'll have the blue side and red side, right? And it's going to be creating flow from here to here. Your input coming from the blue side, law side. Your input comes in. It rings you around. Right, baby, right round, right? This flow then comes in this direction, so you go around, and then this direction this way, zip, and then guess where the output goes? Out into nothingness. This would be the spiral that you're going. If you're not on the straight path, you've been shunted, therefore you're going down this hole. Do you see how you can't see anywhere? If you were looking on a straight line here, look, do you see how there's nothing in your way? Like, just keep looking. You can look forever. You're out there forever. But here you can't, because your eye's drawn to the center. Okay? And that's where they keep you chained. Okay? Now, talking about what I keep saying, that the pole's been broken. Now let me explain that to you. This being the red side, this normally being a certain tune that you would listen to. Let's say a certain show, TV, news, right? That's all of Satan, every bit of it, every single bit of it. Okay? If it's on the network, do you understand? Okay, so it wasn't tuned to where these were they seemed in comparison, in the story, in the understanding that the tune that you saw was either an audio or video signal, and you accepted it as truth, And but there was a balance between the law and the love, the fake love of the red side, to where that story seemed balanced. The police didn't seem overly aggressive, this, that, or the other thing, right? Well, with a break in the red pole, you have the tunes, it's out of tune now. And at some point, just like a Jacob's ladder, okay? At some point, because they separate, the wires separate, the charge is lost into space. Okay, just like this is going to be lost into space, which is why the ring on Saturn, okay, the F ring on Saturn looks all squirrely because it's out of tune. Okay, and remember the demon Prometheus, the trickster, which is why we have the hoaxes, and what's her name with the box, Pandora's box, which is why you get all the bonuses to keep you interested. They have to keep giving you that, an unlimited amount of acorns, because it's broke, so they can't balance it naturally, or their way anyway. Alright, so then just like Jacob's ladder, that charge will be off into space. Now the understanding of this link, so the understanding that you're talking about this, so if you have a 3, and then you have a 9 and a 6, do you see that link is just, this is a 6, and then that's just a 9. It's the same thing. And then if you can link those, you would link them with a 3 in reverse, which would be what they call infinity. Okay? Which is just the mirror side of just the law of love. You know what I'm saying? This would be boom, 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 boom. And they shunt you. So they shunt your communication with God through now that we are saved through Christ, we are given our Christ mind, right? Christ mind, which is a tune, which is retuned, which is a removal of the shunt. It's taken away, okay? And you can then hear God again. You can hear the Holy Spirit of God, right? So I'd like to express that. Oh, first I'd like to tell you this. This is the current, what they tell you, and this is currently how they move power around, and it's a big lie. This is how it works, but it's just it's a caveman. So you're talking about a current that's proportional in your voltage, which is then inversely proportional to your resistance. Will give you an output, or it will give you a flow, right? Well, if then all this is true, which it is, then once you are if power, let's say if you wanted to even do it on this planet, you could do this. You could put let's say if you create power through a source and you send it like that through a vacuum tube, okay? That power will be used or not used, right? Or not used. And if it's not used, it'll be shunted off, and it's not going to disappear like this kind of power today does. Okay, you see that? So what's going to happen is if it's not used, it's actually, being that it's in motion, it's going to then go the other way, and if it gets hit, it's going to go the other way, and if it continues and goes back and forth, it's going to actually create your current, which is your power. So there you get, anytime you plug in, you'll have something there. Do you see that? Do you see how that would work? And it's something that's quite simple, and this allows every single bit made to be used. This doesn't, and that's why they don't like this idea. Okay, so anyways, I'd like to express this as an idea, as an equation. So if you have Satan equals a retaining clip, right, or E, or with 9 being or let's say, just say I being 1 with your 9, that would be the influence of Satan in this, and then J which would be Christ, lower J, because we're talking about the rejoining with God, with the small I being the Spirit, right? And then you have a period, which is the point of God, which is the unknown, which is the unknowable. We don't know the date or time. There's just no way. So through the rejoinder, so our spirit equals 1, right? So then we are given the 1. We're given closed. We get it closed off, right? Boom. This guy's taken out of the way. He's taken out of the equation, because we know that, because Jesus rejoined or retuned us. Do you understand? That's where that comes in. That's where that Holy Spirit was given to us, so that we can jump. Instead of the Satan jumping us, we disconnect his 1, and we put and Christ gives us 1 to put in there, right? And then we, when the time comes, will be connected back to the Father in heaven. See? All right. God bless. Okay, so I'd like you to pay strict attention to this paragraph right here. So this is going into what's called the 47th problem, okay, of how you balance. You see you have basically a 21 idea on the top of a 4 kind of idea, or I guess a 3, 4, 5 idea, okay? So you have the 5, 3, and the 4 idea, making your 12, i.e. 5, 4, and then 3. Okay. All right. So then let's look. So let's see, we are told that Islid, the father of geometry, that's basically talking about father time, and none of this matters. You live today. This is who you need to worry about. Today, what can you prove today, all right? Who lived several hundred years after Pythagoras, worked long and hard to solve the 3, 4, 5 ratio puzzle. That'd be this puzzle. I'm going to solve it for you, don't worry. I should just explain it to you. It's already solved. It's just a matter of fact. And it is said that by some that he sacrificed, blah, 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 some animals for it. However, he was looking for the answer, but you know what? He didn't have the comforter of Jesus Christ. He didn't have the true gospel in him. He was still trying to figure out it by himself. All right? However, historically, it is believed that the Egyptians, Babylonians understood the mathematical usefulness of 3, 4, 5. Well, I will explain it to you. Okay? Let me go to paint. So if you take this, okay, which is going to be the space, or it's going to go ahead and be the root of the problem. Basically, look at the center. I'm going to take that. I'm going to flip it upside down just for ease of use. I'm going to take a piece of it, this corner, and then solve the problem with just a piece of the original. That's all I need. That's it. That's all I need. That represents the 3, the third position, the G sitting in the middle of the sun symbol for the Masonic nonsense orders. It represents the 3. It represents, if I turn it around, the 7. All right. What can I do with this if I know what to do? I can take it. I can flip it. And I can just go ahead and mirror opposite. Put the short end to the long end. Do that again. Long end to the long end. Go ahead and manually put the short end to the long end, and then what did I do? I created geometry. Now let's see if we can put this geometry to use. So if I just remove the geometry built, just the piece of the machine built just from an original angle, and the 4 rings, 1, 2, 3, 4 idea, the idea of the 4 sevens. The 7-11 idea. You have a 9-11 idea of destruction. You have a 7-11 idea of creation. Boom. What did I do? I created a step. To prove that, I will do it 2 more times, and I created a second step. If I did it 2 more times, it'd be a third step. Do you see that? But what else can I do? if I don't understand the truth, that's just a step to the next understanding. So it's, if I sit here and just look at this forever and ever and ever, I'll never understand that those are steps to get out, to move on to the next thing. It's also, understand, it's electrical. Do you see that? Now let's move on to what else it could be. I could take that same piece, all right, same exact piece, and then I can go ahead. All right, ready for that? I just flipped it upside down and moved it right into there. What did I create? I created the plumb bob. I created creation, right? This is the fallen system because it's being hung. Do you see? Do you see? It's being hung and it's placed. Do you notice how that tip, those tips together, make up the idea of the 6 sides? That's not pyramids because it's flat. So you have the one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the bottom. 6 on the 6 top bottom, making your 12 into your 3, into your what? Your bell ring, into your big X, into the envelope. All right? Put down there, down, you got an envelope. This is the fallen world enveloped, or the idea that's put into your head electrically. Instead of giving you a way to go to a truth, it has brought you back unto itself. You are a snake eating the tail, because all I did was take the same exact angle and just flip and mirror it, which I've told you this place does to you. And then you get caught in the loop instead of walking out as you should be doing. Continuing. Then what happens if I notice that block? Remember, I need to go ahead and balance that small side. Why is it small? Because that's all that can fit. Then how do I balance the rest? I put the big block on this side, is held in with the part that came from this. Nothing is added. Nothing subtracted. This holds the big block into place on top of the system, the colors. That's going to be the earth. That's going to be the light of Lucifer, that idea. Now this is going to be spiritual or physical. It really doesn't matter. You know? You need to be worried about the spiritual aspect of it, because that's what drives your body. And do you see that there's 2 missing keys now? That's where the idea of the missing keys come in. Do you see that they're missing right here and right here? The 1, 2, twice as big as this one. That making your 3. It's the 33, the yellow brick road. To what? The flipped, upside down emerald castle or crown. You're cockeyed. You're sitting on top of something, people. All right? I don't need to go and tell you any more. So they took steps that you could have taken out of the lie had you just followed the clues correctly. It's quite simple. But see, these guys don't know anything, all right? Because they do not have the true spirit, the true living water in them, the true comforter of Jesus Christ. All right, period. So they just jibber jabber, and they can never see what is right in front of them. There's 2 ways to see the same thing. One is out, and one is a continual loop. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Because after all that is hydraulics at the end of the day. All right? Have a great day. Okay, so with this understanding, I filled in the rest of the cube then on the right-hand side. You see now that you have the ability now to hold the system. You see it right there. It's contained. Mathematically contained. You see no circles there. That is because you live in an existence of planes. Okay? Plates. If I serve you something and you eat it, you are powered by it and what it contains. Right? So then if you have now contained the cube, this is the part of the system where, you know, you have it in your hand, man. Right? You see it right there on the right-hand side. It's contained. That is the cube, the 6, the 8. It is the 2 4s. See that? The 2 diamonds. Right? The 2 doorways. Both leading to the same place. All right? So then what do you do with that once you see it now and it's been reduced to a single picture, not moving, and now that you have time to think about what you're going to do? I would suggest you put your faith in Jesus Christ, be given the true comforter, which is just true living water, man. It is the truth about everything. All right? You want to know about it, you think about it, it'll come to you. If it's real, it's there. If it's not real, you just have to let it go, man. That's the first thing that you go through, is all that stuff you believed in gets stripped away. All right? And the longer that process takes, the harder it is on you. You're fighting against the pricks, man. All right? So, anyways, stop fighting against the Johnsons. You know, I wanted to beat somebody to the punch there. All right? On the left. Just stop doing it. See, if you stop fighting against the system, I won't have any reason to come on here, you know, saying, hey, what are you still doing believing in this hoax nonsense? See, I'd be talking to nobody because you would all be outside, playing with your cat, dog, whatever, enjoying your kids. I'm sorry, your children. I mean, unless you have goats, of course, your kids. But you get the point. You'd be enjoying living life. You wouldn't be here listening to me tell you about this very obvious fact of life that you just need to go out and look and see. Good night. While you might be what you eat physically, you are what you see and hear mentally in that physical idea, right? So if you take the idea of grayscale, for example, 8-bit grayscale will give you 256 different shades of gray within there. So depending on, especially if you're doing calibration, that allows for preciseness or crispness. All right? If you take, let's say for an example, a full color, a red, green, blue color photograph of a fruit stand, and you break it up into its parts, red, green, and blue, the grayscale images produced from that would then be, the detail is there, nothing's missing per se, but the blue is much harder to see detail, the green easier or relatively brighter, and then the brightest would be then through seeing the red or the rose colored glasses, which is why that saying is that saying. All right, moving on. Now what I'm going to do is show you again through this. This would be the one, or the idea of a creation. One, an idea. A concern. Two, the Isis, the moon, the idea of the pie in your eye. Being moon, the BA. All right, the 21. You're getting embarrassed. Let me embellish that word. Embarrassed. You're being embarrassed. All right? For the 3, you are a joker, a clown for the 3, which is Satan, Saturn, the Lord of the Rings. These are ideas, man. These are spiritual powers. This is beyond what you can put your fingers on, man. You have to understand that. So then what happens if this system gets corrupted? All right? All I did was take 4 directions, put them together. It creates a cube in the center of the 4, the door, the dalet that you go into. But then if we go into the gray scale, go into the gray matter, your mind, the brain, the gray area, the dead zone, because it is broken without Jesus Christ, you are nothing. You are a dead man walking. You're walking that green mile, son. You better get them knees up. Right? So let's go into that gray area. And you can see at 30% opacity, really nothing's changed other than it's harder to see. But then I'm going to turn it up to 60% opacity change. And then your vision's going to completely change. Because now you are seeing pink where there used to be green. You're seeing blue where there used to be yellow. You're seeing yellow where there used to be blue. And you're seeing... what is that? Let's talk about that. The old turquoise. Yes, the turquoise replacing the red. The love is replaced by the turquoise or the fallen. Love, the fallen heart. You see the turquoise eyes. So if you're looking into those turquoise eyes of concern, you are going to be lied to. The old 55. The eyes of the liar. Alright? Turns your cube black. So then you have this new additive system. Here is the creation, the monster that's been created with the flipped opposite reverse. You see that the green is now the ocean turquoise, the turquoise eyes, the wall, the fallen, the 6. 1, 2, 3 adds up to 6. 66, added that twice into the 12 or into the 3. You see that the what used to be the red has become the orange. Orange is the new black, black being Saturn. Well, the cube, the square, the center has become your black and white prison with inside of the infinite shades of gray, because truth is not known to you. The blue has become a bled blue, and then the orange takes over for the yellow. So you have this, thus a created system, a fallen system, taken from the remains of a system that was in place before. All your numbers will add up. You'll look in there, you'll see your 91s, your 61s, your 44s, your 33s, your 23s, your 22s. The 22 is the 1111. That is the moon functionality. Somebody says 1111, they're speaking about Isis or the moon or Allah. That's your 1111 energy. So now you understand why this whole idea about convincing people that they're not seeing colors and the colors that they know are real. So that is why I suggest to you that you actually go outside and you do the work of looking around the place that you call home, and you relearn what colors look like, so you will stop being fooled. And just because you don't see it. So once again, thank you, and through the grace of Jesus Christ, through his living water, through his gospel, you are saved. You know, enjoy, have fun, enjoy life.